Thank you, Randy. And I'm really privileged to have this opportunity actually to work, in Luohan Academy at the interface of academia and business, and especially thankful Alibaba to have this setting for people like me. And, so I'm wearing my practitioner hat today. My topic is on Scope 3 Plus. It's a new term, and there are similar terms that will give you this introduction. And as Patrick has mentioned, the challenge is monumental. As you know, there has been a lot of different initiatives for companies to take commitments and make efforts to help us achieve net zero. And many of them, or us, have done that. But the challenge is really daunting. And it is especially in scope 3. I don't have to introduce the basic concepts. Professor Xu was just giving this, especially in certain industries like electronics and consumer goods, which, of course, Alibaba is specializing on. And we have been thinking, so similar, just like the report we did with Patrick and co-authors, just to mention that Professor Xu is also one of the co-authors, those kind of thinking has been guiding our strategy making in Alibaba. While we are talking with our CEO on these strategies, it influences our decision. And if you go to read our first carbon neutrality action report, you could find these words, digital circular economy, in his letter. So in that regards, we're very proud that our research has made an immediate influence on a large company like Alibaba. And that also helped us to think last year when we developed our first comprehensive ESG strategy, that what digital platforms can do for sustainability and especially to climate change. And because we do think that its potential has been largely untapped, for two parts. The tech, which Professor Wen has just give you a great overview of how cloud computing and AI could do for sustainability, and also what we call stakeholder ecosystem. You're probably familiar with now the term stakeholder capitalism, and we think that platform is especially at the great spot in coordinating, engaging with a lot more partners in doing this. So that's why back in end of late 2021, we made 3 pledges, our carbon pledges, to become carbon neutral in our scope 1 and 2 at 2030, and in the same year, reducing our scope 3 intensity by 50%, knowing that we have a large logistic arm, which is still growing, and also in the meantime, making Alibaba Cloud completely carbon neutral. And our biggest innovation in that overall setting is what we coined the term Scope 3 Plus. And basically, it's the emission beyond our direct value chain, but within our business or platform ecosystem, which we want to work with our partners in reducing that emission by 1.5 gigatons by 2035. And what exactly is that? Actually, it is very close to the concept of avoided emission. We started with our platform setting, and this is an example of a renewable kind of, a solar panel, a wind farm company, and you could see it's scope 1, direct emissions from operations, scope 2 from their purchased energy, and scope 3, right? There, you have to buy the wind turbines, and what is lacking in the sheets? I was talking with Bloomberg last week because they offer these great statistics now on ESG performance of companies. They have scope 1, 2, and 3. I was asking whether you have or you plan to have avoided emission in a sheet. They actually asked me the question, oh, do you have stock of Elon Musk? That was very interesting. And so, but this is not reflected in accounting system. This is exactly what I think Professor Liu in the first session, was discussing. And so this is kind of the general idea. And we published a report together with support from Carbon Trust from UK on our Scope 3 emission reduction methodology, and in which we come up with two different ways of Scope 3 decarbonization. One we call enablement. Basically is a technological solution to substitute, to avoid, to ASI, to improve, to shift your emission to more efficient, to better ones. And the other one is engagement, that if a company, especially like a platform company, could coordinate with many of the other players and do matchmaking and help all of them or some of them reduce their emission because of this matchmaking, we call that engagement. We were thinking of investment. It's just, for the beauty of 3 Ns. But that's not the main function of Alibaba, so we didn't put that in. And this year, back in March, WBCSD, for those of you who know that, they're one of the inventors of the famous GHG protocol that most of the companies worldwide are using as their standards for emission reporting. And they came up with this guidance book on avoided emissions. We had several rounds of discussion in the last several months that we compared our thoughts about the principles, and actually they fit very well. Our enablement is what they call a solution. Our engagement is what they call enablement through other climate mitigation projects. And of course, investment, they call financing. So we're actually working on getting all of these ideas together. What they have, what they specialize on is they have international reputation on getting these principles and also setting up golden standards for companies. And many companies actually would like to go with them. We're also talking with WRI right now. What we specialize on is in the last 2 years, we have been putting that into practice, especially taking advantage of our technology and also our platforms in China, especially. Okay, but I mean, it is also right now is the focus of policy and finance. And this is from less than 2 months ago, the G7 just adopted this avoided emission concept by Japan. Actually, some of the Japanese companies participated in that WBCSD report. And also, this is an investor from France, came up with this initiative to develop a global database. This actually fits with Professor Liu's suggestion for what he wants to do in China. And in fact, one of the institutional investors came up with an analytical framework around the same time when we proposed our Scope 3 plus decarbonization targets back in 2021. But today, I'm going to use my limited time to just give you focus on the other two, enablement and engagement, and a little bit of thoughts at the end about platform. So enablement, ICT. I think Professor Ma asked a question earlier about the digitalization, how it could help reduce emissions. My memory was right. This is probably from 2015. Gisai had this estimation that ICT-enabled saving or decarbonization could be about 12 gigatons. That's about 1/3 of the emission from last year. And they updated this figure, but focusing on the ratio. It's about 1 to 10. So in fact, AT&T from a number of years ago actually came up with this idea of ecosystem kind of decarbonization for every 1 unit of their business. They generally claim that they probably reduce a magnitude higher of emissions. We think that number is roughly right. And in our case, I don't have to do too much more of this, and Professor Wen has already given a very detailed introduction. So this is a report done by Carbon Trust for Alibaba, basically for the data center that owned and operated by Alibaba ourselves. It helps reduce about 85% of emission, comparing with if you do your server on-premise. And of course, this is because cloud computing is still a relatively small percentage of this type of services in China. And I don't have to do too much details of this. In the same field that you have heard the talk from Mr. Ye Jun in the morning, president for DingTalk. A lot of their work, including their work in applying AI into this work coordination, is also helping with reducing emission in work environments. And many other companies are doing that as well, just like what he mentioned, Teams, Microsoft Teams. And Energy Cloud is a SaaS, software as a service, department in Alibaba Cloud. They provide solutions energy management, emission control for different manufacturers, and both in China domestically and right now in Southeast Asia as well. And this is also helping the customers reducing their footprints. The same for Cainiao, as I mentioned, our logistic arm, they're also providing new solutions for their customers. The second part, engagement. And this is actually a graph made by Greenpeace China. And they work with us. They actually do ratings of e-commerce platforms in terms of their sustainability. We're ranked number 1, but we only got points about 70. I'm basically talking with them. I hope that we could compete with the top platforms in China at the 80 or 90 level rather than taking a lead at 70. But they make beautiful graphs for us. Basically, platform operators is at the center of this ecosystem, an orchestrator. And we actually work with a lot of these, the supply side and the demand side, but only a small part of them are our direct suppliers. But we do influence a lot other stakeholders. So this is one that shows one of the major efforts that we do. Professor Xu mentioned the carbon 8H, carbon ledger system. Well, there's a code. If you have one of our apps in China, make sure you scan that and take a look and try it. And basically, we integrate a lot of the scenarios where people spend their life with Alibaba system, right? And either they try to go out and find travel options. We could divert them to public transportation. That's our mobility as a service program. Or we have mentioned idle fish. This number has to be updated. Peter got it right. It's 500 million right now. And we have Cainiao. Actually, they have more than 100,000 stations in communities where people could recycle their boxes. In the future, we want to do more with that kind of recycling capacities. And of course, the largest is our e-commerce platform, where we're trying to put more of these greener, certified greener products into the system. And on the right is more of the supply side. We work with top brands and make sure that we got their best products promoted on the platforms. And more importantly, we work with them as well as the standardization organizations like the National Institute of Standardization in coming up with this low carbon product system that includes not only just standards, but also accreditation, application, promotion, and reporting all together. I put this accreditation together with this bold is because, just as Peter mentioned, this will create a business. And with DPP coming, there are a couple of thousand battery sellers from China. Probably that number, at least half of them are going to sell to Europe. They will need certification. And this is a new market. They will inspire a new business to grow. And so that we're not only a platform for products, could also be a platform for certification. And working with them, we develop more standards. So this kind of potential of platform has largely been untapped yet. And in the meantime, this is a set of standards we're working just this week with one of the top professional organizations in China in getting more of these standards in specific scenarios approved, so that other people could use and try and maybe improve it. So at the end, we do think, going back to our digital circular economy concept and framework, it's really guiding how we're thinking about our sustainability journey. We do think that a properly designed digital platform could be a bottom-up digital circular ecosystem that links mass consumers, producers, and many other stakeholders who may be here now or maybe not. And especially information, just as Peter mentioned, many of these ideas are not there yet. The platform, as a first step, is to get this information together, for those potential innovative ideas to emerge. And this is a paper coming out. I mean, you mentioned that there's not a lot of studies, but there's actually a paper from Organization Environment talking about how they come up with this grounded model of meta-organizational orchestration mechanisms enabling circular solutions. I think that we can easily take experience from here or come up with our own experience in coming up with digital circular or other, to the right. There are many things that we need to do. We need to think about how platforms could do more about it. And at the end, we're an ecosystem orchestrator, and we hope that we could learn more from other research. So you could already see that this session, we have data, we have platform, we have finance, and this whole thing is a complex system. It actually encompasses with all the other sessions in this conference. And with that, thank you.